I'll delete the first one, right? That's our fun together, and then now we're on the official journey, okay?
Sounds good.
Keep all that out of it, I think, would be a good idea. Even though I spoke the truth with you about what we talked about, it's probably, I don't want to put anything out there that people immediately react to defensively, because this is about work that has no negative nature in it at all. No opposites, no fear, no positive, no negative. It is the pure hue we're working with. And it doesn't have any of those things in it. All that energy out in space that appears black in a Hubble Space Telescope image to an Atma out of body, meaning soul or what we really are, which is spherical, it appears as a white golden light, which is what it really is. So when we get out of the body and don't try to look at it with the limits of physical eyes, even astronomical telescopes still see it as black because people looking through them have human eyes, which only see a small spectrum. The visual aspect of the hue, the first sound behind creation, can only be seen with the Atma, the core of our being. It's made of it, it's connected to it. It can visually see it, even with a physical type body that it projects that looks perfect, like a Marshall Bratton, 36 years old, perfectly handsome, absolutely trim, you know, beautiful, because that's how we introduce ourselves to each other. This is something that all Atmas know how to do. Implants, with the secondary ones and the primary one, get in the way of being able to consciously use or know what we're doing in that regard. The creative imagination is not, and we use that word, is not making up some kind of fantasy in your brain. Think of it this way. When you go to school on Earth, and anybody else on Earth that's ever gone to any school or university here, none of what we're doing here is taught to anybody growing up. Gurus that I know of that are most popular on the planet right now don't teach it. They don't know it. There's even a very popular Indian guru that's there, and a number of them. They know about and mention that you can make three sounds with the human lips: ah, oo, and or or You can do that with the human lips, ah, oo, without moving the tongue. They don't know that there's another one, the hue, which can, hue doesn't move the tongue either. And that's much higher frequency because it connects back across the void. If teachers don't know anything across the void, or even what's up there, they can't teach it. They don't know it. They do good work. I guess they help followers. Most of them end up dancing on a stage, and all the followers are down below them. It's kind of a form of worship. See my point? Which is how the cultures work to present truth that they're trying to present. But as long as people put anything on a pedestal, it doesn't take them very far. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take them very far because they're putting what they're trying to get to always above them, out of reach. And they never get to it. The master teachers I work with and that I share with people do not allow students to put them on a pedestal or worship them, ever. If you try to do that with them, they'll just back away and go drink some tea somewhere. They won't even play with you. So, and this is the same for Satnam as well, who runs the entire Atma plane above the void. You know who he is. You could go up there and visit with Satnam and put him on a pedestal in a lotus flower with a big booming voice, and it's exactly how you'd experience him. It's co-creative. But you'd never get personal. You'd never get the benefit of really working with the being. You have to go even further and get rid of other things further up than his realm and come back in order to start to see this thing properly. If you look at Satnam and say, I am that, or I am he, it doesn't mean you're trying to be him. That's impossible. It means you're seeing the same qualities and characteristics of the Atma that he clearly demonstrates in front of us with no bars, no holes, no negative nature, just the pure hue racing through him. And it rubs off on us. But it rubs off on us best when we're just walking along, being friends and trusted. See the difference? We're not meant to worship the source behind all life as people are taught on earth. We're meant to respect it and know it directly. This is what all beings are capable of doing, but not with implants in the way. That can't be done. Because they're subconscious. They influence our decision making, what we will look at, what we're influenced to turn away from. Go have a hot dog, go watch a movie. Don't do anything to wake yourself up. That's the way most people are on Earth. And it's sad because they're running around like masters knowing how to daydream, but they don't know how to take it outside of Earth or into other realities. They have fear of leaving their body. They dread death because they don't leave their body consciously. Yet every night they leave it. Everybody on Earth. And come back with little or no memory because they've not been trained to bring it back. So what these journeys do, as you know, Marshall, is assist people to step out of their bodies consciously while the body's in the trance state we call sleep. Which means every night when you put the body to sleep, there is a connection between you, the Atma, the spherical being running the body, through the pineal gland, which secretes serotonin, which makes melatonin, which puts the body in automatic, which is what it's really doing. You have an energy connection to the body when you go anywhere, all the way up to the source itself and back, that remains connected. It's not a golden cord or a silver cord that can be broken between the physical body and the astral body. That's a link between the two bodies that allows emotion from the astral plane, where it comes from, to filter through to you here, which is where we get our emotion from. How much emotion can one person properly generate growing up as a baby in this planet, in this atmosphere? Not much. How much can a person learn in 100 years on a planet like Earth? Not much. And if nothing's taught that really matters to people, like going home and traveling out of the body and meeting people from other worlds, which we do, then they don't do it. I don't know of any people out in space or in other worlds that work as master teachers to help people these days that force their will on anyone. There are certain things they draw the line with now that they didn't before. One of them is nuclear war on Earth. So when I share with you that I do not concern myself at all with nuclear war, I really mean it. It's not philosophy. It's not just talk. I'm never concerned or worried about it at all. I don't carry that burden because I understand the truth about it, why they're being kept from it. Or they would have done it without thinking. Think about the people that would set off a hydrogen thermonuclear explosion with radioactive side effects on the entire planet in our own atmosphere just to test them. That is a form of insanity. It's a self-destructive subconscious compulsion. So, military-industrial complex. This is where it comes from. Eisenhower coined the phrase and then warned people before he left office that they were getting more powerful. We might lose our constitutional rights. And then he left. Now this was known to presidents. This is known to presidents about how power works, how a classified government works that is classified away from the voters that don't know about it, how it's funded. This was really set up after World War II. It was in process before that, but it was set up officially after the war ended. 35 countries were involved. Just not say anything about extraterrestrials or try to debunk them or put a spin on them. That's some scientific explanation of phenomena that explains away craft that are sitting right in front of people. You can't explain that away. In the early days, they threatened people's lives, shut up, or you're going to take you out in the desert and drop you off, They did very many things out of fear that were abusive from our own country. And then they gradually moved away from that because what they were doing was harming their own families. They're getting diseases and dying just like everybody else. So continuing to support economies based on war is a dead end. It has nothing but a dead end to it. Boom, done. It's obvious, it's inevitable. People cannot put out decisions and make decisions on a planetary scale based on fear without expecting destruction in return. If things had not been interfered here with from much more advanced human beings and other races from out in space that are far more advanced than people on Earth, the people in power would have done more than just test nuclear weapons in the atmosphere. At least they had the smarts to ban all above ground testing after a time. It's been decades now, nobody's done that. It's all underground because that's self-destructive. There's enough radiation on this planet from those bomb tests, hundreds of them, to kill all life on this planet. Yet people are still alive. It's not because of what people on Earth did. It's because of what people did. I'll give you an example. Call it part of our secondary implant journey. This is normally what I talk about on the longer journeys. But when the Fukushima accident happened, 3 of the 4 nuclear plants blew their rods 15 foot high right out into the air. Deadly stuff. I think only 1 person died of radiation from that worked in the plant. People there eat a lot of miso soup, which is one of the elements that remove strontium-90 from the bloodstream. But there was more than that. The radioactivity in the ocean was moving toward the northwest of the United States from that accident because it happened and flooded out into the ocean. It was a plant on the seacoast. And it was raising above 60 rads, and the governor of the state was asking people to test the water and send it in, and they would pay for the samples at the time. A lot of people don't know this. And then one day, when it was approaching the northwest of the United States, it would have killed a lot of people or made them sick and they would have died. It just disappeared from the ocean overnight, just gone, vanished. Military-industrial complex on the Earth did not do that. That was a benefit given to people of Earth so that we might have a chance to get along far enough and go through enough changes to meet with people from other worlds directly. Without that, this planet's toast. All of its people and all life on it will die again. It's happened many times. There's been a nuclear war on this planet millions of years ago. The only people that have records of it, they talk about in the Upanishads and all that in India. That's about it. But it happened. So they're not new nuclear bombs. They are illegal outside of this planet. If people that are leaders of countries here think they're going to take their nuclear weapons out in space, they're running into a brick wall. And they're going to find out in a shocking ways why they can't do that. They don't have the right. It's going to be interesting to see what a spacefaring planet named Earth would be like. It won't be like what people think, yeah? Geez, I mean, the kind of changes. We have a planet that is saturated with thought and emotional negativity. Fear. And the sad part is that fear is artificial and implanted in beings and the energy around them. It's not a real human emotion at all. The Atma doesn't have fear. It's not fear, that's an astral thing. A negative side of a positive and negative current in the astral plane. On Earth, most people imagine a good life for themselves, or they want to imagine being abundant and having things work, being with the perfect mate, having the perfect family. At the same time, they're putting out just as much energy and probably more every day about fear of the present, what governments are doing in wars, nuclear weapons, and the future. And so this omnipresent hue that we go into does not contain the dual current of positive and negative streams, opposites. It is the one whole energy behind and supporting such manifestations. It is unbiased, unprejudiced. It's a living power. It's omnipresent. It's everywhere, under every planet, in every being, through all the planes, up through and beyond the void. which is a barrier between the upper realities which exist and the lower worlds of time and space. It is pure hue, but it's not the realm of the Supreme Being. And if very advanced, disciplined people, monks on the planet, think it is, they're being limited to the lower worlds. I've guided, I think, 3 Buddhist monks now above the void. They didn't leave their organization, they're dedicated Buddhists, but they know now there's something else up there. And that opens their doorway for them to be able to go in and experience and with their discipline and just move across the void. This is good. This is really important. I would guide a Buddhist monk in exactly the same way I guide you. No difference. You're an Atma. So is an Atma running a Buddhist monk body. See? No difference. It's interesting because in the journeys where I guided them, some of them, the lifetimes that were revealed that were wondrous, they were like monks on other planets. The Galactic Alliance, I mean, much more advanced than anybody on Earth. Far more. Levitating, sitting, all that stuff was normal. They grew up with it. And then they bring that understanding, and one way or another, they get caught, killed, stuffed in a body on Earth with no memory, implanted, like everyone on Earth is. They don't deserve to be. But we don't know what they did to put them in the position to be caught in the first place, if you catch my drift. Something out of balance there in the most advanced races even, that makes them vulnerable to opposites like sneak attacks and covert operations. And somebody has to be generating that on some level in order to cross paths with something diabolical. It can come from past lives. It can come from bodies that are running on other planes where they're really out of balance that way, and then it affects the human here on Earth. So what we want to do, and the only thing and value that this work has that is unique, is to help people understand what fear is and let it go. Drop it. It takes discipline. It takes some co-creative involvement of the person that wishes to be free. So the work helps them understand how they can create differently through what they choose to see and imagine, and drop fear because they have the ability. You have the ability. You've already dropped enough fear to be with me on this thing, and you still have the implants trying to keep you from doing it. And they're not winning, if you know what I mean. See, that's the part I find funny. People that cross paths with this work already have manifested enough courage to override the implants that have kept them buggered for billions of years. Or not using faculties they shut down because they accidentally blew up a planet. And they closed down higher faculties out of guilt or shame. They punish themselves. This is before implants. And then that lowers their ability to make good decisions. They don't have all their faculties, and they make more mistakes and more mistakes and more mistakes. In a positive, negative universe, by the time they're done, they don't remember nothing. Not even who they are as a being. They think they're a body, wondering how they got to be on Earth. Like you've done in your own searches. Why am I here? How the hell did I get stuck here this way? I used to know a lot more, right? You know you used to know a lot more than you know now. Everybody suspects it. But they're terrorized to step into it. So when you close your eyes, what happens is we shut off the connection. That part of the brain shuts down, and we shut off the connection to the negative experiences that are recorded in the atmosphere of Earth, in the atmosphere. They don't go outside in the greater hue in space. You can't program negative things in the omnipresent energy. That black area in space that's a golden white light, you can't put negative and positive things into it. Does not fit there. It's not nuclear. It's not atomic. It's not positive and negative points between a molecule in a quartz crystal to use it as a computer to store information, zeros and ones. It's not any of that. None of that fits in the other thing that supports all that. So we as beings are comprised as spherical beings, which is why Earths and planets and moons and suns are round. because they are made in the image of their creators. Or creator, if that feels better to you, or a single being people imagine is somewhere up there, a god. There is no such being up there as an individual sitting on a throne, sending out its commands to worship it. That is all produced by people in the lower planes to control people, to maintain fear-based systems, because they're as trapped in it, more trapped in it than the people they control. So this you that works around throughout the universe, it supports everything without bias, to see what we'll do with it. Depending on where people's desires are or what they think they want, they either want to be awake and aware, they want to remember who they are, or they just want to maintain the status quo. They want to maintain the way their faiths are. They want to maintain the way the governments are. They want to maintain things that keep them from having to be responsible for the condition of this planet. They don't want that responsibility. They're responsible for it, in part, but they don't want to take responsibility for what they are as a being that isn't a body and has never been a body. They don't want the responsibility for the way animals are treated on this world and eaten. It's like a reptilian. Why would they think bad about eating a human when they see humans eating all these other higher mammal forms all the time? See my point? No, I do not promote being or not being a vegetarian. That's not my gig. That's not what I do. When people ask me how I live, then I tell them. And why. But I don't tell people they have to do that in order to go on one of these journeys. That would be silly. To give up something that is not good for you as an Atma regarding bodies takes some real personal co-created involvement of each individual to let go of things over time they don't need that are holding them back. That's all it is. Because I know in my own experience, stopping anything to do with the way people eat things and the way things are killed here, for my own part, I just decided a long time ago that if I'm not willing to kill the animals I eat personally, I should not eat them. And I'm not willing to kill them. So I stopped. That got me through the problem. Yes, it's better for health, but I didn't do it for that. I did it because I'm not willing to be part of that anymore. Because the beings I work with from other worlds don't do it. The greater life that's out in the universe that people are going to have to confront one day don't do it. They don't. Think about it. Some of the people we're going to meet on this journey in a few minutes. Do not have refrigerators full of dead animal parts to bring with them on space to eat them along the way. No such thing exists. That means that people on Earth are living in a tiny minority of the way that is not like the way people live out in space. People on Earth are going to have to go through a lot of changes. The biggest one, though, the only one that really matters, to change everything in a person's life, is getting rid of fear, where it comes from, how this process works, how it begins, how it heads a person in a new co-creative direction once these influences are gone. So if you'll close your eyes, I will ask you to do that. Relax. I'll turn off your sound. I'll mute it. You can turn it back on. That's to get a better recording quality depending on the internet connection you have. And what's happening when we close our eyes? And people don't know this, but they're shutting off that part of the brain that allows information from the atmosphere around us to come in through the eyes. The ears are not as important. You might hear a truck go by or anything like that. Your body can be completely asleep, run on automatic, and you can hear noises to protect you from natural disasters or earthquakes or whatever, and you'll snap out of it. But when the eyes are closed, the visual thing switches from seeing things on Earth, and it switches to seeing things from the Atma, from the white core of our being. And the image you're showing now when your camera's off is on the front cover of the Emerald Doorway book. It's one of 4 books that I've published and wrote. This is what soul looks like. This is what the Atma looks like. It's not what people think. That is what's made in the image of Source itself. Only it's a lot bigger and looks like that with a lot more layers. Consider that what that is the way the structure of an atom of Source itself looks, an individual being. It has layers. It covers the spectrum of light. And that's the spectrum of light higher than physical eyes can see. This is interpreted, an original art on that book, created to show people for the first time what they look like that's running a physical body. Because that is what's made in the image of what they call the Supreme Being, not a physical earth body. There are beings in countless numbers, human, humanoid, and non-human beings that are very kind and very evolved and very advanced, that's just like one of those. And every being on Earth has one of those hovering above the body, in it, or around it, running it through the pineal gland in the center of the brain. Bodies do not run themselves any more than a car runs itself without you getting in it and turning on the key. Without you, the car goes nowhere. A human body does not run itself. The heart doesn't run on automatic. The brain doesn't work. It has to have an energy connection from that through the brain into the nervous system to run it. So it's a very advanced state to be able to run a human body. It's a complex organism. But we are not meant and never were meant to believe we are bodies. That's coming from subconscious implants. It's coming from fear. Implants are terrorizing fear. Subconscious. That means it's made in such a way and implanted in the energy field around the being, around the Atma, that affects the nervous system and consciousness of people on Earth to turn away from finding out who they are, and what they knew before they were born, and what their purpose for existing really is all about. And there is only one answer to that great haunting mystery of all time. Why do I exist? The answer is, we exist to be, at some point, trustworthy, conscious co-creators with the source behind all life. That is the real destiny of individuality. When you imagine going to the store, your body follows. When you imagine going on a ski trip or a vacation, then your body follows. When you begin to learn how and rediscover how to imagine going outside of Earth's atmosphere into space and meeting with other wonderful beings, master teachers, very free from implants and subconscious minds, they don't have them, then you follow. The body stays behind in this trance state called sleep. This happens automatically. It's telepathic. The hue comes through us and directs you to put the body to sleep just like you do every night. In this case, though, because of my voice and how I've been trained, the tests that I've passed, I'm able to utilize my voice while my body is also in the trance state called sleep. This is what we're capable of, but it takes a lot of work and training and time to get to the point where we can do this. So on this journey, you hear my voice, and we go up into this experience to remove secondary implants. If you look with your eyes closed, you'll notice there is 2 beings standing behind you now. About 6 feet tall with long hair to their shoulders, slightly bigger eyes than Earth humans. One is Shantial, the other is Tonaltial. There's a mated pair, a couple. They are not from Earth, they are human. They're showing you a body form that looks to be about 36, perfect, flawless, beautiful, handsome, trim. In every way, this form looks perfect. And there is an Atma, a spherical being, hovering above their heads, running these pure energy forms that look human. So this is how we reveal ourselves to each other. And this is natural. Then you realize that you're hovering near the ceiling looking down on your body. You're hovering between two other beings. And you also have a perfect, flawless, 36-year-old male-type body, handsome, perfect in every way, trim. And you're sharing who each of you are with each other. This is beyond the physical body. It's above it. Simple. It's easy to daydream. Everybody knows how to do it. Seeing your body down there sitting from the ceiling. Shantiel and Tonaltiel point upward and you find yourself at 10,000 feet in the atmosphere. In the air, looking down, all the way down like you have a telephoto lens for a vision, through the roof of your house and down through the form of the body, and you're seeing it. Those two beings are hovering beside you near the ceiling. They're also hovering at the same moment at 10,000 feet. The Atma, the spherical being, is multi-dimensional or capable. What we really are is not made of nuclear material. It's not nuclear, it's not atomic, it's not DNA, it's not atoms, it's not electrons, it's not protons. It's not any of that. It's the energy that is, in fact, behind all that. What the most advanced quantum and other physicists on Earth today call zero-point or toroidal energy is the energy of the universe. 0 point. Because it is not nuclear. It does not obey the laws of physics. It is not limited by so-called speed of light in any way. There's no such thing as a limit to the speed of light. That was made up by people determining what it is in Earth's atmosphere with physical eyes. So they got self-brainwashed, dumbed down to think that's the limit of it. So they believe, in theory only, that light coming from other galaxies takes billions of years to get here. This is not true. They're only looking at physical light their eyes can detect. Light has no limit in its speed or where it can do, where it can go. Particularly the hue that's behind all physical light, that produces physical light and sound, comes through the sun as explosive nuclear material, which radiates out in light and heat. It has a sound that we don't hear in space. But it has a sound in the universe. And the sound that the universe itself, the physical universe, makes is like roaring thunder. But not frightening, gentle, no explosive lightning, anything like that. And it has a sound that radiates everywhere around us at all times. What we really are as the Atma can see this light and hear this sound. And it sounds, when you hear it and see it, that it's coming from physical eyes and ears. It is not. It's just that when we hear it, the Atma hears it and transfers the phenomena of the experience to the human brain and nervous system. So the body believes to think that it's hearing and seeing it, but it's not the physical ears that can hear it. It is the Atma itself. They point upward, and we find ourselves in space, above planet Earth, at a distance, looking at it. There's polar ice caps, the ocean, the land masses. From out here, you don't see roads or cities or towns. It's daytime, and you just don't. It's just, there's a moon circling it. The moon is pockmarked with meteor craters. It orbits the planet but does not turn on its axis, has little to no atmosphere, and very little gravity. It's an unnatural phenomena, because the Earth's gravity and the other worlds and the sun should have it turning to some degree. It does not turn at all, which in physics terms is impossible. No one on Earth understands why it does not turn. And it's meant to, and it's meant to have an atmosphere. It affects the water in human bodies and the water in the oceans. The H2O is a very important element because water can store great amounts of the hue, the omnipresent power that is behind all creation. There are many secrets tied up with how to communicate telepathically through large bodies of water, storing information at like a computer on multidimensional levels, and what it can do. This is something that is not yet known on Earth. Before we go on the journey, Earth's oceans should be charged, meaning they should glow about a foot above the waves. Waterfalls, rivers should do the same. Earth's oceans are depleted. They're supposed to store a glowing power of the omnipresent energy of first sound that runs the whole and supports the whole creation. On normal worlds, the waters glow. They don't on Earth. This provides a big problem for people on Earth because they don't have a connection more powerful directly with the source that they originally came from long ago. That source exists far above what certain esoteric groups on Earth call the void. The void is a pure energy field that has nothing in it, apparently nothing. And it's a barrier between the upper realities that have no negative nature and the lower ones that do. Our purpose is to journey back there. So when we go on this journey out in space, you find yourself standing in a circle of beings around Ambassador Terrelian. Ambassador Terrelian is human, or was, from the Say rays. The Say rays are a race that populated many worlds in the galaxies and in the astral plane, the next major division up from the physical, billions of years ago, brought races up to spacefaring capability and then vanished. In recent years, they have returned to help fix the problems they left behind. What they wanted to do was see what we would do with it. And everybody knows what we've done with it is not a pretty picture. Having them return means something is changing in the entire creation. Something different, something new. What is underway is the retiring of the old failed experiment of good and evil to teach. We were all part of creating it. As Atmas, not made of material energy. It's made of an energy that is, it cannot die, it cannot be attacked, it cannot be implanted, it can't have any of these things done to it. Things that distort memory and keep people from remembering who they are on Earth are placed in a field of energy that surrounds the outside of the Atma, in the field of energy that surrounds the outside of the physical body. What people call the aura on Earth, with thin collars around a layer near the flesh, is not actually what the aura is. It's shaped exactly like the electromagnetic field that surrounds the planet Earth. You can Google it and see it for yourself. It surrounds the physical body out the top of the head and in the bottom of the spine in exactly the same way. Planets have the same field around it. The galaxy has the same field around it, around all the planets and stars that are orbiting a central mass. When you see these beings, I'm standing to your right. There is a man and a woman standing between you on each side of you, a little taller than you, long hair to their shoulders, the larger eyes. They're still there. The Atma, the spherical being they are, is hovering above them, just like it is above this physical form you're showing them. Your implants are turned off because Shantial and Tonaltial, it's part of their service. This is easy for them, effortless. They're keeping those influences that you're about to find out where they are and what they do turned off so you can go up with this from Earth as the Atma, have this physical looking human form that's made of pure energy, as eyes and objective natures, perceptions, so you can see what's about to happen to the Atma you are hovering above this body. There are several master teachers here. Master Ramu is towards the earth standing in a circle of beings around Terrelian. Maroon-colored robe, short-cropped, curly black hair and beard, a crystal staff made of quartz glowing with gold light in his right hand, topped with what ancient history in Egypt calls the Ankh, symbol for eternal life, a cross with a vertical oval hole above it. It's a device. It's a trademark this master teacher carries. To the right out of Terrellian, out in space, is a being standing there named Master Opelum. He is from a planet called Oceania, which is on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy, third higher parallel dimension, above the one you know of as Earth. Because the physical universe has 144 parallel dimensions stacked on top of each other. The Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, that is headquartered on a planet called Zetronomy 1, near the galactic core of the Milky Way, is in this physical universe, out in space where Earth and the Moon are. Oceania is in a third higher parallel dimension. Their technology allows their craft and beings to travel in 144 levels, which comprises and makes up the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds. It's not just in the worlds in space people see with physical eyes. It's bigger than that. The technology of beings in the physical, let's say, for example, the Milky Way, do not travel in ships to the astral plane. That's a next major division. There's a barrier between the two. It goes up into the causal, mental, etheric, into what people call the void, and then further upward into realms that have no negative nature. We all come from there. So the energy that's being brought down here, when you look at Ambassador Terrellian standing in the circle of us, he's 18 feet tall. The Sayrays were 18 to 25 feet tall. Human, 12-stranded, not 2, as far as DNA is concerned. He has a white kind of a gown on, bare feet, slightly larger eyes than human, bright blue, kind of blonde hair down to his shoulders. He's got his 2 fists up with his thumbs up, and there's a bright white golden light around them, a sphere, a halo of light that's brighter than the hue that's out in space. Because up here, when we're standing around Terrellian, 2 things we perceive. The light that looks black in a Hubble Space Telescope image because of the limits of human eyes on Earth is a white golden light everywhere, surrounding the Earth, the Moon, the Sun, the stars, the billions of stars in the galaxy. And there's a sound with it that sounds like this soft rumbling thunder, no lightning. It's everywhere. This is the primary sound the physical universe makes. Atmas, of course, not only perceive it, see it, and hear it, they travel on it. Atmas are made of this omnipresent power. What Terrellian's doing is channeling a higher energy down through him from a plane or a place above the void. So the greater pure hue is now surrounding us in an oval of light, the whole group of beings. And we're getting an experience of being plugged into source energy. If you look up above Terrellian, there's a spherical Atma hovering there just like us. That's him. Above them, there's 2 beings, Etta and Din. They're Dren, silica-based creatures from planet Oceania. They have a symbiotic, healthy relationship with the Oceanian people, like Master Opelum. Master Opelum holds up his right hand, has webs between his fingers, little gill slits under his neck, high up under his neck, that you wouldn't notice. He's got blue skin, beautiful pale blue skin, emerald green eyes, and jet black hair to his shoulders. Looks to be about 40. Trim. There's a Galactic Alliance symbol on his chest area, which is a silver galaxy, on top of which is a 4-sided gold-sided pyramid with a quartz cap or top, and 3 blue stars in triangle formation above it. It's a symbol for the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, which Opelum helped found 500,000 years ago, 500,000 years ago, at the encouragement and some guidance of Ambassador Terrellian of the Sayrays. Ambassador Terrellian's body form, 18 foot tall, is showing you a perfect replica of a body he once had over 1 billion years ago, when the Sayrays immortalized their bodies in a very specific way. They dematerialized them and stored them in one of the teardrops in the golden area out in this image that's shown on the screen, which is on the front cover of the Emerald Doorway book, book 1 of the Parallel Time Trilogy. The Sayrays Agenda, a standalone book, is a book and all my books are based on direct experience. It's based on what is taking place out in space that is different than's ever happened before, and is changing which makes it possible for Earth not to blow itself up in nuclear war for the first time. So what is revealed there about hidden truth creates a series of steps for people to walk along. There's a special technique section at the back that helps people go into the U and go back into these experiences once they've been guided on them. My work helps people begin to see, or what we call imagine, begin to see again places, planets, dimensions, doorways between dimensions. They're all capable of seeing again once they're woken up. My work helps people see what they cannot imagine on their own because of subconscious fear influences. And what happens is a person begins to recover the ability to see. It takes a little time, a little bit of effort on their part, but it does benefit people. So Terrellian is showing you a body form that he manifests by drawing on the omnipresent hue around him, the toroidal, the 0-point energy of the universe, and then it manifests this form based on the DNA stored. He can use this form, go on a mission, show it to us here, and when he's done, he dissolves it and stores it, puts it away. He does not have the burden of pushing around a physical body, feeding it, or having it go to the bathroom. What he's showing us is our potential. By direct experience, it's telepathic. It flows, the hue flows through him, it flows through us. It flows through the master teachers. It flows through Shantiel and Tonatiel standing beside you, Marshall. You are an Atma hovering above this form you're showing them. They turn you around out in space so you can look out in space between the Earth and the Moon. You can see billions of stars out there. Big blue ones, big yellow ones, smaller yellow ones, big red ones, small red ones. Most of the stars in the Milky Way galaxy, and this is known to science on Earth today, are binary or trinary, not single suns like what we have. That means they have two suns, a bigger one with a smaller one circling it. Or three suns, a bigger one, a slightly smaller one, and maybe a big red giant or a red dwarf circling those further out. And then planetary systems circle all three suns. This means Earth's single sun is the exception, not the norm. The effect of three suns on planetary inhabitants like humans makes their genetics and other things evolve at a much higher level than what can be done on Earth. So as human beings and humanoid and other races, they're much more evolved than Earth people. Earth people are capable of being transformed into what these other beings are. In other words, to be changed so that they can experience the same type of thing. But this requires beings coming to Earth openly and sharing their awareness, their spirituality, their technology with everyone on Earth. This has to occur or Earth will not survive. People misdirected from fear on Earth running governments will blow the place to bits if they get their way. So fortunately, that's not being allowed. Out in space, you see a white golden light around you. When you're looking out in space, you see the Atma you are hovering above this perfect form you're showing. These two beings are standing beside you. You see a spaceship out there further, about 30 feet in diameter. It has an anti-gravitic blue thin light around the blue-gray metallic-like hull, has three semispheric pods on the bottom, half-sphere-shaped pods on the bottom, and because you're an Atma, you're able to see right through the hull of the ship. The hull of the ship, and you see four couples in that ship. Three standing behind a semicircular control console with faceted luminous crystals they're using to run things. And there's a couple sitting on like a lounge or a couch in the back, shoulder to shoulder. They're apparently asleep. And the reason you're being shown this is so that you can see that Shantiel and Tonatiel standing beside you, who conduct the secondary implant removal process, are the beings that are asleep in the ship. The bodies look identical. They look to be about 36, the pure energy form, because these beings do not age like people on Earth. The telomere at the end of their four-stranded DNA does not shrink when their cells divide. They do not age, not like people on Earth. They're showing all this to you because you once knew it, and it was taken from you. Your awareness of all this was suppressed through misuse of science out in space, sometimes long before you ever came to Earth in this life. How people got to be on Earth was not their own free will. It was not the will of the supreme source behind life. It was done by tyrants between that and here, in the physical universe, in galactic history. The last great war took place 500,000 years ago in our galaxy. There are no wars taking place out there now, as some people on Earth are unintentionally misdirecting other people with fear that there's tyrants ready to come here and bomb us into submission. This is not true. All tyrant races, reptilian, gray, or any other, have been removed from our solar system, but not by people on Earth. This was done by friends from out of town. And when I say that, I mean beings, fellow beings, part of the greater God that exists beyond Earth, that have done this for us. Because we do not, in fact, have the right to blow ourselves up in nuclear war and harm billions of lives in other planes, parallel dimensions, that people on Earth don't even have any idea at all ever existed. We don't have that right. 8 billion misdirected people on Earth with no awareness of how they got here do not have the right to blow up this planet and harm life elsewhere. There is vastly beyond hundreds of billions, hundreds of thousands of billions. We don't have the right. So out here in space in this pure hue, we know these things. They are awakened in us. We're plugged into the pure hue, the first sound behind creation. First word missing in books on Earth is a sound. So out here, truth cannot be elude us. It cannot be deceive us. It's blatantly open and right in front of us. You're looking out in space now. You look up at the Atma you are, and you see this big electromagnetic field made out of the hue that surrounds and moves around. It surrounds and moves around, constantly moving. It's identical in appearance to the electromagnetic field that surrounds the planet Earth, which is spherical. We are spherical. Planets are made in the image of us, not the body, the real us. That real us is part of the source behind all life, and it always has been. The fact is, we are not now, nor have we ever been, a physical body. We've run billions of them. Part of this journey is to help a person recover what they were made to forget before they were born here on Earth. This work is for the benefit of all people on Earth. Governments, classified people, military people, people everywhere. Animals, plants, suns, moons, stars, water, ocean, sky, all of it has the omnipresent first sound behind creation running through it and supporting it. We are meant to be conscious, trustworthy co-creators, caretakers, and custodians of a planet like Earth. And people on Earth are not doing this at all. And because of that, the hue that could come through them to charge the oceans and liberate them is depleted. For now. What's coming our way on Earth is the recharging of those oceans. It cannot be done by people on Earth the way they are. So it has to come from outside, out from the greater God that exists out in the universe, on parallel dimensional levels and up through the dimensions all the way back to the source prime creator, which is how beings more advanced refer to the supreme being. They don't worship it, they respect it, they know it. Out in space, you look up at this Atma, you see this electromagnetic field around it. It's quite large, extends around the outer golden layer of the Atma, which is spherical. Implants are out there. They're not in the physical body. They're not even on Earth. They're in the field of the hue that flows around from the North Pole to the South Pole like a planet and allows it to float in this other energy, omnipresent living energy that it's made of itself. Galaxies and planets float where they are because they spin to create electromagnetic fields which is made of the same thing as space. And when we see it out of body, it's a white golden light everywhere. And so it flows in this toroidal field around the being and the body back on Earth. The implants are out there, and you'll notice there are 3 secondary implants. Secondary implants contain torture, death, fear, will eat you, will kill you if you try to remember this. They are attached to a foot-wide oval light, kind of like a football size thing. And there's a white beam connecting 2 others in a triangular pattern outside of the atma. It is through these subconscious implanted things that people see the universe distorted and in fear. So they're not able to remember what they knew before they were born. They're afraid to look into it. But if you happen to see these 3 oval spheres connected with a triangular light, they would appear beautiful to you. And if you happen to find them, you wouldn't want to get rid of them. You will have to trust the hue that you don't want them there. The lifetimes in them are wondrous beyond your imagination. That you lived yourself far more advanced in a far higher evolved genetic body, human and others, before you were born on Earth, in galactic history. So when we go and look at these with Shantial and Tonatial, we'll take you up to them, into your electromagnetic field, and they will be removed one at a time. These hold in place what's called a primary implant, and that's a pyramidal-shaped object, 4-sided, golden-sided quartz cap, something you would recognize as uplifting or beneficial. And it's stationed on the north pole of this electromagnetic field outside the atma, and one facing downward on the south pole. And it affects how you are able to remember what you are as an atma, and all those layers of teardrops that have higher faculty capabilities. It keeps people from accessing that. All the faculties, all the lives, everything we've ever lived is still recorded in those levels in the atma. But if people cannot use or remember how to use their higher faculties, and they're not trained to do that on Earth, they grow up with no awareness of using them. They stay dormant or turned off. This process begins to turn all those teardrops back on. This changes life. This makes people's IQ vastly higher, their intelligence much greater, and they begin to experience this on Earth. They begin to understand how to comprehend what this journey is and others. And then after time, they realize they are much smarter than they ever were, and much smarter than they could ever learn in a lifetime at any college or university on the planet, in 10 lifetimes, or 100, or 1,000. None of those faculties are destroyed because you don't remember how to use them. They're still there. They're intact. Within the atma is the ability to circumnavigate and travel in the entire multidimensional creation, with or without spaceships. This is important. The atma rides on the sound and light of the omnipresent first power, omnipresent power or sound behind creation. The atma is made of exactly the same energy. If we go all the way to the upper realities, far above the void, to the source of the ocean of sound and light itself, and go inside what we call Prime Creator, in an aisle in the center of things, surrounded by beings floating around it, you begin to understand it's much bigger than we are. Looks like an atma, but it's many more layers to it. It is a central nexus where all atmas in all creation connect telepathically, which is a pure form of communication in the hue. It cannot involve any negative nature. And then we begin to remember who and what we are. And that gets filtered down through the planes, and eventually it changes the consciousness of the human personality and nervous system on Earth. And the being you are, the body you raised, and the personality you have on Earth begins to become enlightened. We bring enlightenment to the Earth, not the other way around. They're moving you now, Shantiel and Tonatiel are moving you, this physical looking form, up into the electromagnetic field. It's like you're shrinking and you're going into seeing this huge atma you are, and you're going out in the field of energy around it, going right up to one of these oval lights. Shantiel and Tontiel each take a hand, gently lift it out, and the beam connecting them shuts off. They had already shut down the negative effects, but now you're going to look into this white oval, this oval sphere of light, and see what is hidden there. As you move your face inside to look what's in there, you begin to experience that you are on another planet. You're coming down into a world that has a blue ocean. And there's a continent about the size of Australia over the equator, and one up to the left and one in the lower right. There are no polar ice caps. It is a big world, 4 times bigger than Earth. It has 4 planets circling at different distances around it, the size of Earth, with no polar ice caps. There are dome cities on all 4 worlds. In the distance, you can see a trinary sun system. There is a giant, young, blue, hot white star that is at the center. And then there is a smaller yellow sun circling it, and out in the distance, another smaller yellow sun circling that. This is a trinary sun system. We're going down into the atmosphere to experience at least one lifetime here that you had in a physical type form, where you lived for thousands of years before voluntarily moving on. This planet is called Sandrina. I know them when I'm here out of body. I just tune into it. It is a Galactic Alliance world. It's located near the galactic core of the galaxy, and this lifetime was over 650,000 years ago. This is in benevolent world systems that was there before the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds was established, particularly in part by Opelum, Master Opelum. When you come down into the atmosphere, because you're an Atma floating down in there, I'm there. Shantiel and Tontiel are your guides, they're there. And we're moving down through this. And as you look down, you see this light of these 3 suns sparkling like glittering diamonds off these ocean waves near the shore of an island, one of 12 that circle this larger continent near the center of the equator. And the waves that you are looking at that are blue are glowing a foot above the ocean waves on the entire planet. This is charged with the omnipresent first sound, as it should be. You're approaching a beach. It's a gold sand. It's also glowing. There are jungle trees surrounding this island, maybe 50 miles square or something like that, or rectangular or slightly rectangular. And there are 3 dome cities in a triangular formation in a clearing inside the central area of this island. There's a few mountains in between, smaller mountains in between these 3 dome cities, and some mountains at different points around the outside of it. And then it goes out into the jungle, and then it ends on this surrounding golden sandy beach. You can see waterfalls cascading down some of these mountains, and they're glowing as well. These domes, these 3 dome cities, are quite large. The cities in them are not metropolises. They don't have vast buildings and skyscrapers. It's very functional. There are pyramid shapes within these buildings, 3 in a triangular formation around a long ivory-colored dome, kind of an oval that's about a third of the way up the inside of the base of these pyramids, which are training facilities and scientific research centers. And you're walking along a blue marble path. It leads through the jungle and into the distance. And what we're doing is floating above this path and moving down it until we come to this first dome. And when we're walking there, you realize you have a Galactic Alliance uniform on. It has this same symbol on the chest that we described for Master Opellum. This was at the formative stages before the entire Galactic Interdimensional Alliance Free Worlds was actually created. So there was a group of worlds that were already using this symbol, and then it expanded out to include hundreds of millions of other worlds. So this is ancient Galactic Alliance history. So this means you were a Galactic Alliance pilot, a captain. You're walking with several other people, 2 women, 2 men walking along with you. And you're entering a kind of a triangular entry. It's about 10 feet long in length and 15 feet high, and it goes to the interior of this dome through a blue energy field. You walk right through it. This protects the inside interior, the weather-controlled area and atmosphere-controlled area of inside of this dome. When you walk down this path, it becomes white stones, and they wind in a circle like a snake in between these small ivory domed buildings, long blue lavender grass. There are trees lining each side of this pathway that leads towards a blue oval luminous lake in the center, surrounded by fields. The trees are like giant weeping willow trees with broad spoon-shaped leaves glowing. And you're greeted now, we walk up to and are greeted by Master Opellum. He was around at that time. He's in his blue, kind of a blue-gray uniform with his jet black hair, and he's simply greeting you and leading you into the distance. This is a lifetime where you were actually being trained by master teachers like Opellum for a time. And as a lifetime, you lived for several thousand years before you left for some other adventure. Bodies do not age out there. Human bodies, 4-stranded minimum. Humans in other worlds, and the telomeres, as I mentioned, do not shrink when the cells divide. This is just higher science. Races that have mastered genomes on the DNA can understand them to be switches. When you know the frequency of sound that turns them off or on, you can change many things in human bodies. You find yourself in space now, coming out of this oval sphere of light. Oh, and one thing I should describe is what you looked like. You had long, black, slightly blue-tinged hair to your shoulders, slightly pointed ears like an elf, golden eyes, a smooth kind of pale blue and green skin, human, but not like people on Earth, 6 feet tall. Now, when you're out in space, and you're coming out of this oval sphere, you're going to see Shantiel and Tonatiel. He takes it and spins it on the top of his finger like spinning a basketball. And then she just touches it and disintegrates into the white golden light around us. The memory of the doorway to walk into this life and explore it further is now conscious. It was a great lifetime. You were not in any wars. There were no bad guys hunting you. You were a scientist as well. All Galactic Alliance personnel are cross-trained. A botanist, a biologist, an anti-gravitic technology expert, an interdimensional doorway expert. All are cross-trained to run or fly ships if needed. Such beings have the equivalent of 10 PhDs by the time they're 10, compared to a person on Earth. They have photographic memories. They're telepathic. So are people on Earth. They just don't know it. They're afraid to access it. So people on Earth call it intuition. Then they're moving you over to the right side of this triangular pattern of these secondary implants and moving you up into the electromagnetic field. You're just levitating right up to it. And you're approaching this other oval foot wide sphere of light. And then they're moving you up to it so you can go into the experience of seeing what's there. That one secondary implant is now disintegrated permanently. You cannot be implanted again. That's done for you. How that happened and where it happened we get into later. But it's gone. So as you move into this other oval white sphere, this secondary implant, you begin to realize you're moving in a massive ship. It's a ship that's cylindrical. It's 10 miles long and quite large, quite wide, high, bridge control window in the front, one on the other side. This is a intergalactic cruiser. It's designed to go between galaxies like Andromeda and back and forth. It goes through interdimensional doorways or portals, which of course take them places far beyond any limits of the speed of light. And so you're in a control room. There's a person sitting behind a semicircular control console with projected holographic type screens. They're seeing planets and stars that you're heading towards. You're heading towards what look like 7 giant young blue hot white stars. So you're on a journey somewhere. This is 350,000 years ago. The Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds has been around for 500,000. And you are sitting in a chair behind the person who's piloting the ship. There are people lining each wall that's oval shaped inside, and they can see out the bridge window. They're running different instruments and monitoring different things. And you are like navigating where we're going on this journey. And there is an admiral standing up behind you, giving instructions. This is just the beginning of a lifetime you had that lasted for 5,500 years. In galactic history, long before you found yourself on Earth unaware. And so you can go back to this experience and travel in that ship, see where it's going, see where it came from, see what planet you lived on. This ship departed from a planet a third of the way out from one of the spiral arms, the same one where Earth is located, 2/3 of the way out towards it in the Milky Way. And then you find yourself outside of this experience, and you see Shantiel and Tonatiel, their hands, their palms, moving in towards each other, collapsing this thing and disintegrating it into little particles of blue dust that vanish into the white golden light surround us. The implant, the negative thing on it that kept you from seeing it, is now gone. The memory is there, conscious. It's no longer subconscious. Because you are much higher intelligence and much longer lifespans in these existences before Earth, that intelligence and that higher ability to know things will begin to rub off on you back on the body and form and personality you have on Earth. It raises our intelligence ability, our higher IQ. Now they're taking you around to the back side of the Atma, out in space, turning you around if you're facing this third secondary implant. This time they place their hands under each of your palms and move your hands under it. And then you pull it out of the electromagnetic field and move into it. You're now walking along a path that just winds like a snake towards the distance through a tall green grass field. And along this path, winding like a snake, is a green, luminous river that comes from surrounding mountains, from waterfalls that are glowing, and they go out to a green ocean in the distance. There are several domed cities, one to the right, towards the base of the mountains on the right, one to the left, towards the base of the mountains on the left, and one behind us, up the head of us, the base of mountains that circle around like a horseshoe. And you're walking along this path, and there is a woman beside you. You have on side of a sheer blue gown, and the woman has the same kind of clothing. And you have kind of bushy hair that flows down your back, each of you. It's a silver gray color, but not gray hair. It has a silver gray texture to it. You're humanoid. You have oval, snake-like eyes, smooth, kind of slightly tan brown skin, a little longer fingers than Earth human, a little longer legs and torsos, thin cheeks. The ears are a little bit pointed, but they are a little bit wider, and they curve around the back of the head. And you're smiling at each other. You stop on the path, embrace, and then just walk further along, headed towards the ocean. So you are here on a planet for enjoyment. And what you see approaching you on this path from the ocean are some what appear to be a type of animal. Of course, they aren't animals or thought of as animals like people think of mammals and other things on Earth. Because the one thing you see in this experience is you and this female Atma, feminine Atma, are hovering above these bodies. And in the distance, you see these creatures approaching you. The first thing you see is they are Atmas running these bodies, just like you. These beings, whatever they are, have a long neck, a head kind of like a horse, beautiful eyes, pointed ears that come out to the sides, long tail, and they're walking on all fours. But one thing you're going to notice about them is their skin is like a blue-gray fur, and it's slightly glowing. They have a bushy tail, and when you look at them, they do not have hooves. They're not walking on hooves. They're walking on dexterous fingers and toes and thumbs like a human. They have a big pad on the bottom. And as they approach, they stand up on their hind legs and walk towards you. They're about 7 feet tall. And these are great friends. These are a type of a highly evolved genetic species the Atmas are running, just like you're running a human-like body here. And you're in telepathic communication, and you're overjoyed to see each other. There is a male and a female and a couple of young offsprings about half their side. They run around and circle you, and then these two beings embrace you. You embrace them, and then you just sit down on the path to enjoy each other's company. They're telling you stories about stuff that's happened in their journeys in space, because they are a spacefaring race. You're on a planet that is also bigger than Earth. There are 2 planets circling in the daytime sky out there, the size of Earth. You can see them. And there is a twin sun system here, binary. Big blue one, a slightly smaller yellow one, that you can see moving across the daytime sky. Shrals are the name of these beings. Shrals. 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 And you've known them for hundreds of years. This is a lifetime you lived over 7,000 years. In an incredible lifetime, enjoying the company of these fellow beings on a planet that it's in one of the other spiral arms of the galaxy, 2/3 the way towards the galactic core. This lifetime, as you pull out of this oval white light, is now conscious. You can explore it further, find out what it was about, how it was related to the Galactic Alliance, when it happened, and how it relates to you on Earth. But the main thing is to understand that you had lives out in the universe, just in the physical galaxy, that were far more evolved and far more intelligent than what you have on Earth today. And as you pull out of it, you realize that your hands, cupped by both Chantiel and Tonaltel's hands, you're looking at it and they're asking you to send the hue into this sphere. They're doing it, Ambassador Twirling's doing it, I'm doing it. Chantiel and Tonaltel are doing it. And then it just dissolves into looks like little drops of water, blue, green, and it vanishes into the white golden light around us. You're standing beside Chantiel and Tonaltel looking at Ambassador Trillian. He serves as a central focal point, as a very advanced, evolved being, a master teacher. And he keeps our focus on getting constructive benefit from these journeys simply by being himself. His two thumbs are still up, and he's channeling a higher form of the hue down from, if you look up high enough, up above Et and Din, these drens hovering there, silica paste. Then you see Satnam. Satnam is a being who has a bare chest, strong, about 36, bronze-skinned, bald, has a golden eyes, two gold bracelets on his upper arms, a little white tunic dress from his waist to above his bare ankles, and he's just observing things. But up above him is a vortex. And there's a brighter golden white light coming through this vortex, looks like an hourglass. It has a blue-green water-like light flowing around it. It's moving through him, down through Terrellian, out his hands, and keeping this little brighter golden white sphere of light around us. So we're being plugged into source energy here. In this way, these secondary implants, not only are they gone, they can never be done to you again. The primary implant, which is that pyramidal shape hovering above the north and south poles of the electromagnetic field that surrounds you as an atma, contain an experience of death and torture, a real one, that puts you on this planet somewhere in galactic history, generally pretty close to this lifetime. And when you're ready, you will be able to co-create with such beings the ability to sit in a white chair and look into it. And I may be able to guide you in that respect at some point. In other words, we don't get rid of primary implants on Earth at this time because it would kill your physical body. But looking into it and seeing what's in it and making it just a memory removes its negative influence. With the secondary implants out of the way, you'll find you have volitional control over whether you want to be affected by this primary implant on Earth. But the thing to do before you make any decisions about anything is to send out the hue, to plug into this energy you're connected to on this journey. Ask for the assistance of some of the beings who are named and introduced to you. And then, before you go to bed at night, send out the hue until you're comfortable. Mention these names, ask for the assistance, and you'll get help every night when you're out of your body, because you leave it every night, whether you're aware of it or not. The main thing is to give gratitude or respect to these beings. Ramu, Pelham, Et and Din, Ambassador Terrellian, Chantiel, Tonaltel, myself. There are other master teachers here that are present to partake in this, but we don't have time to explore them all. Just know that they work in the Hue Expansionary Academy. That's many dimensions. That's way above where Satnam's realm, up through that vortex. We'll get to that on a journey further out than a secondary implant removal experience. Then you find yourself on Earth, hovering near the ceiling, 3 atmas, Shantial, Tonaltial, you, and the body forms you're showing each other, perfectly flawless, about 36. And you see this white golden light pass down through you, all of you. It goes down through the top of the head of your physical body and out into the electromagnetic field that circles it. There is no secondary implants in it now. It moves through you for your benefit, and then it continues to flow onward for the benefit of others. It goes out through 3 pyramids stationed on Earth's deepest oceans, 2 at the bottom, 1 inside a hollow interior in the Himalayas, which has been manifested on Earth, but they're not made of physical matter. Then it goes out into space. It goes out into a big pyramid stationed between 2 stable asteroids, circling in the orbit of a planet in the asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter. It was a planet. It was blown up a long time ago. And then it goes out into bigger pyramids stationed between individual stars now that have been manifesting for years out there, into the galactic core, the axis of the white golden light moving up and down the shaft of the Milky Way galaxy. It goes up and continues all the way back to Source itself in an unbroken circle of omnipresent living power. When you're ready, open your eyes. Were you able to go on the whole journey?
Yeah, it is a little choppy, but I don't know, it's hard to explain.
Well, that's what's good, because the journey's recorded and individual. It means that you can play it back, I'd say a day or so later, when you're comfortable, a cup of tea. And I know you had your camera off. It was good because people could see what they look like, the image you put up there. So thank you for that.
No problem.
Did you keep your eyes closed, or did you try to open your eyes through it?
Um, I had my eyes closed for the
Good,
most part,
good. Because
and
it's
I had
necessary. Otherwise, you come right back to the earth and close it down. It's like going back and forth, which will make it choppy.
oh yeah, no, but I don't know, like the going through the port. No, it's hard to explain, but yeah, no, I was able to feel sensations, you know, I feel lighter.
Yeah, and you
Or
will. But the thing, this is a very visual experience for you, but not your physical eyes. It doesn't work like that. That's
oh yeah, yeah,
That's a bad habit. If you think you don't see things, just remember this before you review it the second time. You know how to visualize going to the store, right?
yep,
And you see it clearly. No problem. It's effortless. You're used to it. You grow up with it. It's called daydreaming. You know how to go to, I don't know, somewhere else where you live. Drive to some place you like to drive to. But you first see it or imagine going there, then you go there. The same principle applies to you going outside of Earth or anywhere else. It's identically the same.
mm,
So you have to get over bad habits that I can't see, because that's just a primary implant lying to you. You do know how to see. You do know how to see as an Atma. You always have known how to. There's habits and things you grew up with, and implants, the primary one. But right now, the primary one is turned off. If it comes on and you find fear of the present or future in anything you're doing, all you have to do now, hew into the omnipresent you with understanding. And then simply look at a butterfly or a waterfall. Get online, look at something beautiful. Look at a tree. Turn your attention away from it. You're going to find that this primary implant that's buggered you your whole life will simply turn off. Or you could have the habit of continuing to look into it to see what the magic and mystery is of evil. There is no magic and mystery, no intelligence you can discover in it. It's just distorted consciousness. You can't find any solutions looking into the evil, but it'll keep it affecting your nervous system if you keep looking into it. I had a problem with a friend named Virgil. Knew the hue for decades, but he had a problem with looking into it all the time. But he didn't realize that he couldn't get rid of it and solve this problem by himself on his own. It takes friends from out of town to do that. And once he got by that, he understands. We all go through it. So Marshall, you have the ability to see. Don't kid yourself. Don't keep telling yourself you can't see. Lots of people have this experience, but eventually they get it. And they understand they're seeing. They just have to get over this self-convincing, subconscious perversion, intimidating stuff that keeps them from knowing it consciously. Because like the lives you're in, you know very well how to see what you are and what's hovering above other beings. You knew it well, long ago. So it's your right to get it back, yeah?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just three. They're random how they were chosen, but they were chosen because they had no negative Nate. They were great lifetimes. Bar that from a person seeing that, and their intelligence goes way down. Makes it harder for them to make anything work. Get those back, and you have the access to the wisdom of those lives, the length of those lives, Galactic Alliance participation. That's what you're getting back here. And now, because it's recorded, and I'll send it to you, I'll put it up on my YouTube channel. It's a little longer one than usual, but then I wanted to have you take a longer one, didn't I? It's my choice.
Hmm.
Well, it's your choice too. It's co-creative.
I'm thankful for it. And yeah.
Well, I can tell you this, once they're gone, they're gone. You don't need to go on another one a second time. You don't got to go on 5 secondary implant removal journeys. Once is enough. The primary one is another issue. When you look into that, you will be co-creating being ready to do so. The hue will simply match it. Okay?
And shut the primary one off.
Well, it won't shut it off. It'll just make you aware of what's in it. In which case it's
Oh,
conscious, so it can't really be subconsciously affecting you anymore, see?
oh, okay, gotcha.
It cannot be removed with technology we have on Earth. It takes Galactic Alliance X being on a ship until Earth is more different. Even I have a primary implant still. I know what's in it. And it doesn't bother me because I know what's in it. So when you get the secondary ones out of the way and the primary one, you understand it's torture and death. You really went through torture and death and were stuffed in a body with no permission of yours, against your will, told if you wake up you're going to be eaten alive or killed again. It happened to everybody. Don't worry about it. Everybody on Earth has had that experience one way or another somewhere that ended up putting them here. Earth is not a normal place. It poles flipped. It's been a dumping ground for ages. It is a planet under treaty, the end of a great war, that made it impossible for any one race, good or bad, to dominate this world. It's like a Switzerland. So you don't see any one alien race. They've tried. World War II was about them trying to take over. Some bad guys. They were defeated out there. So, and they basically defeated in sneaking into the planet because there was no war out there. And they're captured, they're sent home, their planets are going through a change, reptilians and greys are being changed. It's all taking place as we speak. So Earth is quarantined. The solar system we live in is quarantined. To protect us from bad guys from coming back, they can't. And to protect beings from other worlds from us. The most untrustworthy, destructive race of beings living in the universe right now are the beings that live on Earth. How ironic. Look at the way the world is, and you can see it. You think such beings that I introduce you to are going to allow us to go play amongst the stars like that? Being like that? No.
Nope.
There's no, there's no Star Trek in our future with radioactive warp core driven ships either. That's silly. Nice and fun to look at it theoretically and play with it, but it's not the way ships are powered. The more advanced ships out there don't pollute anything. They don't even use energy. They channel the one power, the U, through their devices designed to work with it, 0 point energy, and then bingo zingo, they're around the universe and they don't even use energy. They got no tailpipes. It's perfect.
It's all crystalline and soul power.
Well, it's basically the hue power through devices in the physical
Oh
world.
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean that's really what it is. If we don't work with the hue, you ain't going to travel the stars ever. You have to work with it to do things like leap beyond space, limits of the speed of light, go through interdimensional doorways that were put in place and designed between the dimensions. These guys just figured out how to map them out and travel through them. They were already there. Silent mentors govern these doorways. They don't keep anybody from going through them necessarily. But let's face it, the doorways between dimensions that are in the physical universe travel between 144 parallels before you even get to what people call the astral plane, the next heaven up from the physical universe, so to speak. Those ships do not travel outside of that 144. You got to go into astral craft in the astral plane to do that. You want to travel in ships in the mental plane, you got to be up there in that plane. And since you have a body you're running in all of them, you can do that. The Atma, you are running the bodies in all those levels right now. Part of what we do on the journeys when we come back, I don't always share it with people, is we pass through the etheric form, mental, causal, and astral, and get them awake to each other, your higher selves, working with each other for the first time, because they're not. People in those planes have problems and implants and all kinds of crap just like us, on higher energy levels with higher abilities, but they're still stuck. So that means people's higher selves they pray to and work with aren't usually working for them, don't even care about you here. The principle is if you wake up here, the Atma, running through the most contrasted, most difficult place to live, and become more masterful, as above, so below also works as below, so above. Simultaneously passes through the other forms you have and begins to straighten their asses out. See what I'm talking about? So it's really important that we get you above the void. And if you're going to know, if you want to know what self and God realization is, you have to be right in it. You already have self-realization because you know what the Atma is now. Its purpose for existing and its relationship as a co-creator with the source is God realization. Simple. That's what it is. When we wake it up, we go deeper into perfection, deeper into it, and there's no end to how God realized we can be. There's no end to how much we can co-create with that source. We're meant to go back and co-create with it. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Okay, I'm going to close this recording down.